G'day folks, it's the Meeple Monkey here again with another video for you. This time we don't have an unboxing, we don't have a gameplay video for you. We've got I guess it's like a top 10 or a bit of a look at the Meeple Monkeys collection. So a couple of videos ago I talked about sort of, I think it was in a competition, I talked about seeing what you guys thought about different types of videos and that sort of thing, and what I could add to the channel here that would be something that you'd be, or that you would enjoy seeing. And well, a whole bunch of the different things I put out there, like in terms of top 10 videos and look at the collection and all that sort of stuff, there were, a few votes for each sort of thing, so I thought, well, let's get started on some of that stuff. So I thought what we could do is have a bit of a look at my collection and look at it in a sort of like I guess a bit of a top 5 sort of way. So I thought we'd start with something that was the topic will be something that it's actually not one of my favorite genres, and that's going to be dudes on a map or area control style games. So typically I tend to gravitate towards more solo gaming or cooperative gaming especially. I really like, if I'm going to play competitive games, I do like to play those sort of like solitaire competitive games, where you're sort of Euro style games where you're kind of doing your own thing, building your own engine and trying to stay in your lane sort of thing. So real sort of head-to-head combat sort of games fill me with anxiety and don't bring out my best self. So I've just realized I'm probably not looking at the camera at the moment, so I'm going to try and do that for the rest of the video. We'll see how we go. No promises. But with the area control style games, there are still a few, these dudes on a map, there are still a few games that I've had a lot of fun with over the years. And in fact, one that I've just recently played is going to feature on this list, and it's sort of the thing that was sort of most in the forefront of my mind when I was thinking about what can I show off in my collection that you guys might be interested in, and I thought I'd give this game some love amongst others. So we'll see how that goes. So yeah, so we'll start with, I've basically done a top 5. I think I've got at least 1 or 2 other dudes on a map style or area control style games, or at least that have a bit of a strong element of that in them. But I thought I'd stick to a top 5. All right, so let's get into the list itself and see what we have. So the first one we have over this way, if I can reach it properly, is now this was I was going back and forth on which titles to put in which order sort of thing. But the first, well, not the first one, I guess this is the 5th. So this is like my least favorite out of the 5, but still a great game, is Monumental. Now I'm hoping that's showing up. Yep, that's it. I'm hoping that I don't have the camera back to front there. But Monumental, it's a big game, and it's one that I quite like a lot of the elements, and I think this is probably true for this genre itself, is because I don't really enjoy the head-to-head, the area control, mechanism, very much. A lot of these games, what they have in common is that they have really strong elements besides that make me sort of willing to play them and quite enjoy that aspect of them, and if I can sort of try and separate myself a little bit from the area control side of things, I can enjoy other aspects of it. And this particular game, Monumental, I probably should leave it up, shouldn't I? It's by Funforge Games. It's got a really interesting card play mechanism where you put this tableau down. It's a bit like a deck builder style of thing, but you play your cards out in I think it's a 3x3 grid, and then each turn you can activate one row or column, and you get to sort of fire off and trigger all the combos on your cards. I forget whether it's one row or column or one row and column. It might be both actually, and you get to play those cards just like a deck builder, playing from your hand sort of thing. Then they get discarded, go back into your deck, you can keep shuffling and all that sort of stuff, and then you play your new cards back into those empty spots sort of thing, and you can get some really interesting combos happening with that, and then you use all the cards and the abilities that you trigger on the cards to then inform what you're doing on this big map sort of thing, with lots of miniatures and all sorts of, you know, really nice beautiful tiles and that sort of thing. It's a really lovely production. Yeah, fantastic miniatures, really good. So I really enjoyed that style of it, and I was sort of going back and forth on whether this was higher than some of the other games I've got or not. And one of the things that was in its favor was it's got a really I mean, it's still a pretty involved game, but as a solo player, I appreciate having a solo play mode sort of thing. And of these games, this is one of the only ones that has a decent solo mode that's easy enough to play, and I can, you know, I can handle the, you know, the overhead of it with such a big game sort of thing, and still really enjoy myself and have a decent game. So it's got a really good solo mode that I quite enjoy. And it's got, you know, variable factions. You've got these different sort of, I guess, kingdoms or different sort of cultures that you can use, and they all have their own strengths and weaknesses. And you know, they have like unique cards that you add to your deck and that sort of thing as well. So there's a lot of sort of replayability there as well. And then I believe the solo mode incorporates that as well. So when you know, you can play against one faction and it does it has certain strengths that you're sort of trying to counteract, and then you can play again and play against a different faction, and they will feel different, you know, slightly different sort of thing as well. So that's something I really enjoy. I guess probably one of the biggest downsides of this one is it has a tendency. I haven't played this one with multiple players. Like, I've only ever played it against one other opponent at a time. Otherwise, I've played it solo. But you know, it's got a reputation of being a little bit. Because of the different combos of the different ways you can trigger your cards, and you've got all these different possible variations of which columns and which rows you want to activate. I think there can be a lot of analysis paralysis sort of thing to the game, and I've run into that a little bit, not too much, but again, haven't played with a big play count, so that can get the best of me. So yeah, take that for what it's worth sort of thing. But yeah, Monumental, certainly a really impressive you know, looking game, great production, and a lot of fun, you know, really interesting decisions with that card system as well. And that's probably my favorite thing about that one. So that is Monumental. I'll try and keep the games as I'm going through on this side. Now the next game is this is a pretty classic one. I think a lot of you will have heard of it, and that is Blood Rage. So Blood Rage, great game, and you know, those of you who are familiar with it can probably guess, you know, why I really like this one. And you know, because I've mentioned that it's the area control side of things is not something I'm a huge fan of, but you know, if they've got strong other mechanisms, then I'm really you know, willing to try them. And this one has a great one, which is that drafting mechanic where you go around at the beginning of each round and you draft from a range of cards, and you can try and put together a really good combination of powers that make your faction really unique. And that's a really fun part of this game, is that you don't really have all the different factions, even though they have lots of nice models, and you know, they're all, you know, the Bear Clan and the, I've just made that up. I don't actually know if there's a Bear Clan, but you know, the Snake Clan, I think like a Wolf Clan, and different clans. You know, they look really cool and look really unique, but they don't actually do anything different in the game. But what happens is, you know, each time you draft these cards, you're either drafting upgrades to your leader or upgrades to your troops, or buying, you know, getting yourself a monster or different things like that, getting yourself different special abilities, and then you sort of combo these together to create a unique player power sort of thing for yourself as the game goes on. You're also drafting your hand of combat cards and all that sort of stuff as well. So you know, I really like it for that aspect of it. It's the combat system, or you know, the area control system is okay. It has this sort of system where you have certain sort of limited spots in each realm you can go into, and then the different realms sort of one by one, they sort of randomly are getting destroyed each round as Ragnarok is approaching. You have a really interesting mechanic where the soldiers that are dying get sent to Valhalla, and then that's a whole aspect of area control you're sort of controlling as well, because you might want to send your troops to Valhalla because you might have cards that give you bonuses for them being there. For example, Loki cards and things like that sort of reward you for having troops defeated and that sort of thing as well. So lots of really interesting things going on there. One of the reasons this stands above the Monumental game, for me at least, is that it doesn't, and this is sort of like a interesting thing, but it doesn't have I don't think it has an official solo mode. There is a Board Game Geek variant someone's put up there a while ago that I've printed out some cards and tried it, but it wasn't really the most intuitive for me. It didn't really sort of work. That I sort of want to keep going back to it, sort of thing. So this is one I don't get as much chance to play because I have to sort of be able to get a group of people together. But when I've played it with those big groups of people, I've always had a really good time and enjoyed that, and I've enjoyed that they're having a good time as well. So that's been good. So I was going back and forth. Do I put the fact that I like my solo games and Monumental has a really good solo system, or do I sort of value more the big experience that these games are intended to have, sort of thing? And I sort of decided to go that way, sort of thing. So so Blood Rage, really, really good. Probably don't love the area control side of things where you got those limited spaces and stuff, but it definitely creates an interesting and unique sort of pattern for that. So yeah, quite like it. So Blood Rage, there you go. That's number 4. Don't think I said number 4. So I've got to get better at these top fives, don't I? Got to announce them. So speaking of that, this is my number 3. I can count, and that is, some of you might have already guessed if I've gone with Blood Rage, and I think a lot of people sort of have these the other way around. But talking about having it the other way around, I think it's supposed to be this way, and that is Rising Sun. So Rising Sun is my number 3, and for very similar reasons, it's around this point. Again, I've had some really good experiences with groups of friends where I've really enjoyed it, so I've put it above Monumental. And it's interesting that there are aspects of this and Blood Rage that sort of make them very hard to sort of compare, which one do I like best, sort of thing. Again, the thing I like most about it is everything but the area control, but has some great models. I think I like the models. I like the theme better in this one, so it sort of automatically just has that, I'm more interested, more drawn to this one. And as much as I do love that system of crafting your own unique faction with the drafting mechanism, which I really enjoy in games, this one has that system where each of the factions just has their own predefined asymmetry. So the bird guys are able to move around the board wherever they want. I forget, there's another faction that gets gold really easily and all that sort of stuff. But I don't know, I like those factions that they've created there. I like the theme of them, so I think I enjoy that more than the building up my own ones. In addition to, I really, really like the action selection system in this, where round to round you pick what your action is going to be. That lets everyone else also do that action during that round, but you get a bonus. I think it's similar to, I want to say Race for the Galaxy, I think is similar to that. And the, I'm not going to lie, the really nice, I think they're a Kickstarter version, but the really nice tiles that you use for selecting those actions. They're sort of like a Mahjong tile style feel. They just, they add to that whole thing. So I really enjoy the tactile feel of that. I really just enjoy the experience of getting to use those. I love the kami system, or the kami system, where you have the gods that you're sort of like vying for their favor, that can help you out throughout the game, and you have different factions of, or not different factions, but different versions of those from game to game. And that's something that actually is also in Blood Rage. You have like you can add the gods to that as well. Forgot to mention that's something I quite enjoy in both games. And then you do have a similar sort of thing where one of the actions you can do is you can sort of build up your own factions, monsters and abilities and things like that. But I think they're more aligned with like end goal scoring and that sort of thing. You're building up your own sort of paths to victory and that sort of thing, and I quite enjoy that as well. But if I'm honest, the biggest draws for this one are the themes of those factions, the theme of the overall game, and that action selection system. I think just makes this one stand out. I probably should mention also the combat system is very interesting with this one, where you're sort of bidding with coins, and you're you can actually, a viable strategy is going in trying to bluff and to lose, and you've got to sort of try and work out how many fights you want to sort of like be weak in, and then knowing the order in which the fights are going, which one do you want to like come out strong and all that sort of stuff. So that's quite interesting. I'm not very good at it, so I don't enjoy it a lot, but I think it's a really interesting system. Yeah, so not the main reason I love the game or anything, but it's just an interesting sort of faction to it, sort of thing. So yeah, that's not what I was going to say, Blood Rage. That's Rising Sun. So I love that one. Interestingly, the next game is not going to be Ankh or Ankh. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. I think it's Ankh, but never played it, didn't get it. So that trilogy of Simon games, Eric Lang games. Yeah, it's incomplete for me because I've never tried that Egyptian one, but it looks pretty good, but yeah, just never got into it. Now this next game, it's a bit heavy. Whoa, okay. Might need to cut away if I do myself an injury here. This next game is the game that I had on my mind, that was making me think, when people were asking, hey, would you like to do some top 5s or some top 10s or show off your collection, this was the game that I'd probably most recently been playing. It had been one that had been sitting on my shelf unplayed for quite some time, or at least unplayed with friends for quite some time, and was almost on the chopping block, almost sent it on its way, because I didn't think I'd get around to playing it, but played it a few times now and really loved it. And so this is my number 2. And I had to go back and forth as well on that, whether it was my number 1 or number 2, but this is my number 2 area control style game, and it's called Tsukuyumi Full Moon Downs. I recently got to play it, and it was amazing. Such a fantastic game. Yeah, and there's something to be said for, I think a lot of people, think that the standee version's better because, you can see the things, you can see the stats and stuff a bit easier on the standees and that sort of thing. But I'm a sucker for minis, and I really enjoyed this with the minis. You get little cheat sheets that have the stats and stuff you can use as well. But regardless, it's just such a fun game. It's a huge, big, sprawling one. You have all the different factions are like very asymmetric, really fun theme. There's a sort of post-apocalyptic theme of like I think the Japanese have shot down the moon, and then the moon's like fallen to Earth and cracked open, and turns out it was actually a big giant demon egg, and so big demons sort of come out of it, and then it's like mutated the rest of the creatures around it and turned everyone into like demons, and the impact of the thing crashing to Earth has like evaporated the oceans. So you've got like the last few remnants of humanity who were like aboard a aircraft carrier, sort of one of the factions, and you've got mutated boars, and you've got the whales who are sort of like flopping around going, where'd the ocean go, sort of thing, but they've mutated to be able to sort of walk around on their flippers and things. Just lots of really cool factions. You got like big Robotech sort of dragon hunter guys and other dragons flying around, and you got these like bug, Tyranid style, swarm creatures, just all sorts of different crazy factions, and they all work really differently. And each faction you pick brings like specific missions that every other faction can then have as their goals in that particular scenario. You've got lots of ways to sort of manipulate the board, but the biggest thing for me, the thing I love about it, is it's got a really interesting, for an area control game, it's got a really interesting system of area control where when you're going out and conquering areas with your troops, you can either do your attacks are either a conquer action, which you are vying for control of that space, the area control part, or you can choose to do an attack action where you destroying their troops. So if you go into a spot that's defended by troops, you've got to decide: am I just interested in the control area of this and taking the space, and earning points for it, or do you want to wipe out the enemy to make it easier for you to control more spaces later on, sort of thing, so and weaken their sort of ability to go and control things. So it's a really interesting mechanism, and each faction generally has like a couple of unique cards that allow them to do sort of like combinations of those. So you might be able to do, once per round, you might be able to do an attack and a conquer or things like that. It's got another really interesting system where it's got drafting. At the beginning of the round, you have a hand of cards and you pick one, and then you sort of send that hand around to the next player for the next round, and that card lists all the things you can do that round. And you might pick a card that says you can do a whole bunch of production but not much attack, or maybe it might be a whole bunch of moving but only a little bit of attack and production. So, or you might just do all production and nothing else, sort of thing. So yeah, that's really really interesting. I think that and that conquer or vanquish sort of choice make for a really fun game, and it's just all the games I've had of it have been really, really fun so far. And it's a bit of a bear to learn, because you've got to learn all the different factions, all the different things. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. So yeah, great one. I didn't make a big deal of this too. It's probably one of the biggest selling points, but and I enjoyed it, but I didn't find it as interesting as the other stuff. But also, when you choose your attack you're going to make, on the attack it has a list of the different responses that the enemy can make. So you've got to be careful with the attack you choose. You've got to sort of think, what options am I giving the enemy to respond to this? Am I going to be happy with any of these responses, or if I really don't want them to do that, do I maybe choose this other attack which is not as beneficial, but at least I know they're not going to hit me back with that, or whatever it might be. So yeah, lots of really interesting. It's just a game full of really interesting choices, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. So that's Tsukuyumi, Full Moon Down. So despite some early hiccups with it, definitely earned its spot as number 2. And that leaves us with what is number 1 on the Meeple Monkeys area control games, and that is well, this was a tricky one, because I was like, I'm really recently loving this Tsukuyumi Full Moon Down. It's a huge game, sprawling. It's got all the bells and whistles and everything that the kitchen sink sort of chucked into it for a big, huge area control game. So is that what the Meeple Monkeys' favourite area control experience is, or is it almost the complete opposite, which is Iwari? And this is, I decided, as of this moment in time, Iwari is the thing that gets my thumbs up for the number 1, my favourite sort of area control experience. So I guess technically, and this is one of the reasons I've called this Dudes on a Map / area control list, because this one really isn't much of a Dudes on a Map game. Okay, so this is by Thundergriff Games, and it's a Michael Schucht design. It's actually, I think it's a remake. I think originally, I can't remember the name of it now. originally it came out under another name, and then it's had subsequent sort of iterations where they've changed the name again and slightly changed the theme different times. So there was one example, I think it was called Han, and it's been known by a couple other names as well, I believe, but this is the latest version of it, and it's been rethemed in sort of like in a sort of a fantastical, mythological sort of time, sort of set, you know, prehistoric almost, with early tribes of people, and so you can see here on the front your you know, big sort of godlike being, sort of colossal being, sort of like wandering the expanses as these tribes of early people sort of are spreading out across the land, sort of thing. It's such a beautiful looking game. It's got just a really elegant, simple system of you just basically placing these little tent sort of pieces out representing your people sort of traveling the land, and it's just that you're just putting the tents out, trying to sort of have area control in these different zones, in these different sort of regions, different color regions. There's like a road system that interconnects them all, so you're trying to sort of build up chains of them, you're trying to sort of take control of the areas. You have these totem pieces that you build up in areas too, that are sort of like a secondary area control sort of thing for the different regions as well. So you can sort of score regions based on the number of tents there and based on the number of totem poles, but the totem poles are limited by how many tents are in the regions. And there's a really clever system of you know, being able to place these little pieces out into the different regions. You can only place a single one, I believe, into the first region. So like when a piece is put into a region for the very first time, only one piece can put out. So you can't just dump a whole bunch in at once and sort of, you know, quickly take over that area. If you want to sort of head into that area and make that a viable place for scoring, you have to open it up with just one piece, which allows others to come in and like outdo you, sort of thing. So you've got to sort of like think, you know, are you going to be able to then go back in and double down and put more back in yourself and that sort of thing as well. And it's got a really, the cards themselves are beautiful. They have a you know, there's almost no text on them. I don't think there's any text on them, but it's all just based on the color of the cards. A really simple card play. Just the cards themselves let you put pieces in, and there's like, I think, a system where you can play up to 3. It's like a 3-2-1 system. It's like you can play up to 3 cards. You can only place up to 2 pieces in a particular turn, and you can only place pieces into a single region. So you can only ever place things into a single region. That's the one. You can only place up to 2 pieces on a single turn. That's the 2, and you can only play up to 3 cards to do that in a single turn. So then, sometimes I think you can play 2 cards of any color to you know, put them in a color choice of you know, or a region of your color choice of thing. So hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, just a really simple game, and that's what I love about, you know, my favorite thing is it's like I said, it's the opposite of Tsukuyumi Full Moon Down. It's a game you can play just so smoothly. You can play with lots of people, and all you're doing on your turn is like playing 1, 2 or 3 cards down with no text on them, just to put some pieces down. So the game flies around, and so you can get this big experience of an area control style game in a really short amount of time. Really simple, so you can sort of teach it to just about anyone. The games I've had with people of this, everyone's really enjoyed it and taken to it really well, and the game doesn't outstay its welcome because it's just over so quickly. And yeah, so it's that sort of perfect experience that I'm looking for, I guess, is these days, you know, I'm so much less inclined to have the time or the energy for big sprawling games. So you know, this gives me that area control sort of in a beautiful and streamlined package. And probably my favorite games at the moment are those really elegant designs. Those and I've got a mate who talks about sort of, you know, elegant design and that sort of simple to play, simple to learn, simple to teach, but you know, lots of depth, lots of replayability, lots of interesting choices, you know, and not extra rules put in here and there and all these different things just for the sake of like, oh, it's interesting. It manages to keep you know, the maximum sort of ratio of interesting choices to smoothness of design, and this one certainly is an example of that. So yeah, so that's Iwari. Hopefully I was holding it the right way up before. Iwari. Oh, and it's the deluxe edition, but I'm not sure if not sure. I think the retail version just has less maps and stuff in it. I think is the main thing there, but the core gameplay and stuff is the same. So yeah, really enjoyed those games. So even number 5 there, you know, is still a great game, and I still really enjoy it. So hopefully that's been an interesting insight into some of my other gaming apart from Marvel United. So let me know how I went with this video. Was it interesting, useful for you? To give you a good insight into those games, good information, and yeah, let me know if you'd like to see similar content, and you know, dive into some other genres and things like that as well. I can certainly sort of start thinking about, oh, what other sort of games would I like to show off as well. I definitely want to talk about like you know, elegant games and things like that down the track as well, but might save that for you know, after showing off a few other different ones if people are interested. So well, hopefully that's been great for you, and you know, we'll be back with more Marvel United gameplay. I'm sure there'll be sort of unboxings down the track and that sort of thing as well, but yeah, hopefully this has been a great one for you. Well, thank you very much, guys, and let me know, by the way, I totally forgot, I should say, let me know and let others know what your favorite games are. You know, if put them in the comments below. What's your top 5 maybe? Yeah, well, let's do it that way, top 5, or if you want to do a top 6 or 7, up to you. But top 5 area control games, you know, what did you think of this list? How does it compare to yours, that sort of thing as well. So you know, I'm sure other people would be interested to hear what other games are out there and that sort of thing as well. So definitely check that out, and if you're interested, we've got the Meeple Monkey community page on Facebook as well. You can go check that out, join us. We've got lots of great painters and stuff showing off their stuff in there, and we're about to launch a bingo for DC United to sort of track, you know, who the different heroes they announce in DC United are. So Andrew Fantasia put his put a video out showing what in a hypothetical world, what sort of things he would put into a season of DC for Marvel United, or I guess DC United, and so that's what we're going to do. We're going to check how accurate he was, and so we'll have these bingo cards for every time there's something that matches his list, sort of thing. So yeah, so definitely check that out, and you know, happy to have you there. So just I guess you apply or whatever, you know, tick the button saying I'd like to join, and I'll see you there. So anyway, thank you very much, guys. Meeple Monkey out. See ya. Bye.